Hey there, you made it. You made it. You made it to the end of the mixing and the cloning part of the FS masterclass. And just to remind you guys, I said in the previous video, mixing is where a lot of people give up. So once you get past mixing and you still think FS is for you, then FS is for you, and you're doing so nice so far. So I just thought of doing a summary and conclusion of the mixing and cloning part of the FS workflow, because once you get this right, what comes after it is actually even optional. You don't have to do lighting and color changes if you shot nicely like I do. So that means I can just simply finish working on this image and save it and call it a day. So but just to summarize on what we achieved with our frequency separation, let us just go back and turn everything off, and let's just reference to what we have done so far. So I'm going to turn everything off. Like you can see, this is our original image before anything was done to it, because I've turned off the FS group, and like you can see now we only have one visible layer, and that is the original image or the background image. So in this particular image, we are using frequency separation to get rid of the skin problems that we have in this particular image, getting rid of a few discoloration to give a softer look, and getting rid of a few texture issues to give more even skin. Okay, so we got this particular image like that. Then after that, we did our image of separation, and before doing any cleanup, the separation is always the same as the original image. So right now, if I turn off the FS layer, nothing changes, because I said at the point at which we separate, before we get to cleaning each of the layers, the sum of the color layer and the texture layer is always like the original image. Okay, so then we went to the color layer, and in the color layer, we were trying to achieve smoothness. Okay, so if I turn off the texture, this is the color layer before mixing it. Okay, so in this particular color layer, the objective was to use the mixer brush tool to get rid of the bumpiness on this particular layer, to the point that the layer looks very smooth, but it still retains its color dimensions and its color properties and its dimensions. And that was done by using the mixer brush. And like I said, when you're using the mixer brush, number one, do not drag. The way to do it is small circular strokes. Small circular strokes as you're moving from one point of the skin to the other. Even if they are right next to each other, do not drag, because you're going to drag around skin pixel, color pixels, and mess the color and end up even messing the dimensions. So having mixed our color layer right, this was the outcome. So this was before, this was after mixing, and this was before mixing. So this was done using the mixer brush tool, and like maybe 10 to 15 minutes of nice mixing. And like I said, when you get into learning frequency separation, you do not have to do a full image even at first. Just aspire to do a small and nicely done area of the skin, because it's going to progress from that nicely done small area of the skin, and in no time is going to be a fully done body that has been nicely mixed. But if you rush to getting speed without getting the skill fast, you're going to be fast, but remember, you can be fast without direction, and speed without direction is a recipe for disaster. Okay, and that applies here. So we used the mixer brush tool, and we mixed the discolorations in our color layer to the point that our color layer was looking like that. But you can still see our color layer still has dimension, and the light properties of the image still remain. We still have a highlight here, a mid-tone here, a shadow here, a highlight here, a mid-tone here, a highlight here, a shadow here. That's how the color properties that give an image direct dimension and depth. Okay, so after we finished working on the color layer, we had to work on the texture layer. So the texture layer had a few things that needed to be sorted, because after we are done working with the color layer, we normally mix the color layer with the texture layer off, so that we are sure we are of what we are working on. So whatever you can see here, we are very sure is in the color layer, and we can mix it away. Because if you try mixing out this way, we might try mixing to get rid of this particular blemish here, but it is not in the color layer. So you're going to be wasting effort and time and messing up the image. So once you're done working on the color layer, we turn off the texture, and for us to work on the texture layer, we use the texture copy layer, and you're going to be using the clone stamp. Like I said, the clone stamps works by you make an exact copy of a good sample cloning, then you stamp that good sample over a bad sample to remove it. So for example, in the case of using that for skin retouch, we are going to be sampling a good skin texture, then cloning it. You're going to be cloning a good skin texture, then stamping it over a bad skin texture to remove it. Okay, and true to that, using the texture copy layer, which we used to do our cloning and stamping. That is before cloning and stamping, and that is after cloning and stamping. Like you can notice, the blemishes that we had in our skin here before on the texture layer, after we did our cloning and stamping nicely, all of those disappeared. So this is the outcome that we want to achieve. So the two layers now combined. I did not finish working on the eyebrows. We can do this as a separate tutorial some time later. That's what I thought. I'm going to show you guys how to do this kind of a cleanup still using frequency separation when I get to doing other uses of frequency separation. So having done the mixing of our color layer nicely, and having done the cloning and stamping of our texture layer nicely, the outcome is what we have here. Okay, so if I turn off the frequency separation group like that, you can see that is our image before mixing and cloning, and that is our image after mixing and cloning, and the outcome is so lovely, guys. So lovely. Actually, without even doing any further changes to this particular image, it is a very decent and good looking image. So let's zoom a bit, and that's before. Sorry, this is after, and this is before. So this is the kind of outcome you want to achieve with your frequency separation and your mixing. You want to use frequency separation to get rid of the obvious things in your image, but without ruining key properties of your image, and that is the color, the texture, and the dimensions. Because once you mess with the color, the image is done with. Once you mess with the dimensions, the image is done with. Once you mess with the texture, the image is done with. And like I said, the idea is we are just going to do just enough, not a lot of it, just enough to the point that whatever blemishes that are making the photo not be very visually appealing are gone. After that, we just have to stop. We do not have to the idea is not to get rid of everything that is not right in this particular photo, because if that is the idea, you might spend 2 years on this particular photo. There's always something to remove after every edit. There's always more polishing to do. There's always more mixing to be done. There's always more cloning to be done. So the idea for you is you have to decide your objective and your goal. So once you have achieved your goals, you just leave the process there. You don't have to keep overdoing it, because one of the biggest risks with overdoing frequency separation, it is going to take away the good benefits of the same. Because for example, if you separate nicely but you mix too much, you are going to kill your dimensions and have a flat looking face or a weird looking face. So the idea is we just do what is very minimal and very necessary. And once you are done with that, once you're done with that, we can go to the next step, which is finalizing on our image and saving it ready for sharing with our clients. But that's not going to be the last part of the course. We still have a few topics left, like some mistakes to avoid in frequency separation, how to create yourself FS actions, some myths and misbeliefs about FS, and so on and so forth. But for the purpose of us learning how to mix our color layer and how to clone and stamp our texture layer, this is the end of it, and see you guys in the next one as we get to finalizing on working on our image, things like cropping, light and color correction, and etc, and see you guys in the next one.